Welcome to the C Files, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. 6 days into the Trump administration, I've already figured a lot of things out. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think is planned for the next 4 years. I believe that I'll just go down the list real quick. Bullet points. The Federal Reserve will no longer exist 4 years from now. Income tax will be a thing of the past. We won't be filing taxes on April 15th because there will not be an income tax. Tariffs will be the method by which the country replaces the income tax. It was the method that was used in 1870 to 1913. And really bad decision was made by recreating a central bank 1913 and income tax, bringing in the income tax. Of course, this was done under the cover of darkness over the Christmas holiday. The vast majority of the legislators were against it, but they pulled one of their sinister political tricks and did a recess to some degree. Most of them went home to be with their families during the holiday, and some stayed behind enough to pass the Federal Reserve Act. I guess that's what you call it. But anyway, they created the Federal Reserve, which resulted in the income tax and resulted in a heavy burden being placed on the back of the American people from that point on. And it was by the bankers for the bankers. And, who cares about the American people? We have struggled with the economy ever since. The crash of 1929, they've been lying to you about that it's not because we had a big roaring party in the 20s and we had to pay the piper in the 30s. That's a lie. That's not what happened. What happened is we brought in some really bad policies in 29, and we reversed course, and that caused the Depression. If you want to read the history of that, you're going to have to go somewhere other than Google to get the truth, because you can't find it on Google. But it's available, but you're going to have to dig. You're going to have to dig for it. So he's going to dump the IRS. He's going to dump the income tax. He's going to dump the Federal Reserve, and that alone will turn the aircraft carrier around and send it in the right direction. But here's the thing. He's dealing with very, very dangerous people. And I think I would love to see all of this happen. But I'm also realistic in that I know that it is an extremely dangerous thing to do, because I believe from the bottom of my heart that one president was eliminated, and that those files should be coming out soon, and we should be able to know what actually happened on that day back in 1963. Another president they attempted to eliminate, and that was in the 1980s. And any president that began to approach this came under heavy threat. Trump seems to be the only one to be able to get around it. Actually, I believe he has God's protection over him, because I believe this is something that God is doing. I believe that God has come to the point where God has decided, well, of course, he had understood all this from eternity past and decided things way back then. But that's a theological understanding of things. But I believe that this is the time that God chose to take down those who have put us under this sinister, evil, financial form of slavery. And they've been involved in some very evil and very sinister stuff. Without going into detail, many of you know what that is. And I believe God has taken them down. And I believe they have a heavy frustration because they don't realize it. Maybe they don't realize it. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't think they realize the fact that they're fighting directly against God Almighty. And God Almighty is propping all of this up. And God Almighty is the one who is taking down their empire after they have oppressed the people for so very long. At any rate, I believe that's what will happen because I believe that God has determined for it to happen. And He has chosen the people that He has chosen to do the work He has chosen them to do. And they are currently in power. And they will be successful because God has determined it. But knowing what they are dealing with, I stay focused. And I believe that they're staying focused, not getting giddy, not getting careless, foolish, letting their guard down. Oh, we've got this one. We'll just walk right over these people, these evil people that oppress the people through their tyranny. No, you don't let your guard down. I was in law enforcement for 30 years, did hundreds of traffic stops, searched hundreds of buildings for suspects, and you never, ever let your guard down, because the day you do is the day you don't go home. No matter how successful of a year you have had, no matter how many criminals you've taken off the street, no matter how successful your operations have been, and crime goes down because of your efforts, people's lives are saved because of your efforts, it doesn't matter. You never, ever let your guard down. You stay focused. And we, the American people, need to stay focused on the task at hand. Because the people that we're up against, they're focused. And they don't give up. And they don't just, drop everything and walk away that easily. They're going to continue to fight as hard as they can to maintain the agenda that they determined. And that means, things like 15-minute cities, 24-hour surveillance, social credit scores, all of your freedom's gone. You will have nothing and be happy. You will eat bugs because that's the food we will provide for you. That kind of stuff, where they have total control over your society. Now, people wonder, people don't understand these things. They don't understand the people that they are dealing with as an American citizen, because they are being targeted by these people simply for being an American citizen. When Trump pulls out of the World Health Organization, talks about pulling out of NATO, talks about taking down the IRS, these kind of things, a lot of people don't understand it. They don't understand what's going on. Why is he doing these things? They're confused. They don't understand. Or they just think, oh, he's become a dictator. And he's just, we told you guys that he would be a dictator. We told you what you were voting for. This is what you voted for. This is what you're going to get. Because they don't understand what's happening. The real dictators are the globalists that Trump is fighting against. The real dictators are the sinister people who are in the bureaucracy, the federal bureaucracy, the fourth branch of government, that make up all kinds of regulations and rules to make our life harder and harder and harder to live. And they do it on purpose. It's sinister. It's not to help us. It's to make life so difficult that you're hardly able to live it. And they create the problem, and then they come to you with the solution. Look how wonderful and awesome we are, because we're going to solve this horrible problem that you're having. We have the solution. Yeah, well, you created the problem, and then you tailored the solution for the problem, and then you can come in looking like the hero. This is what they do. And then when you solve the problem, everybody just follows them like chicks following a mother duck or following a mother hen. Those days are over because people are waking up. It's called the Great Awakening. Klaus Schwab and the boys and the World Economic Forum wanted they wanted the Great Reset. And you say that's a conspiracy theory. I've got a book here written by Klaus Schwab called COVID-19, The Great Reset. But everybody thinks everything's a conspiracy theory. When the JFK files come out, it's going to shock a lot of people. So, yeah, pulling away from the World Health Organization, dumping the IRS and the income tax and all that, those are acts that are designed to free the people from the tyranny they've been under for so long. And when you do that, you become a target. That's why you have to be focused. That's why the people protecting the president have to be focused and well done, be able to do their job well. Now, out of the Epoch Times, federal agencies made over $161 billion in improper payments last year. An improper payment is one made by the government that should not have been made or was made in an incorrect amount, according to the watchdog. The U.S. government made billions of dollars worth of improper payments in the most recent fiscal year, with several agencies found to be non-compliant with regulations on the matter, according to a recent report from the U.S. Government Accountability Office, a GAO. Since fiscal year 2003, executive branch agencies have reported cumulative improper payment estimates of about $2.8 trillion, including $161.5 billion for fiscal year 2024. Now that's called mismanagement. If a corporation did that, they would not be in business long. And could you imagine what could be done productively for the United States and for the people of the country with $2.8 trillion? An improper payment is one made by the government that should not have been made or was not made in an incorrect amount, including duplicate payments, money sent to ineligible recipients, and payments made for goods or services not received. Well, how does this happen? Some of it's fraud. I had another report here. 7 charged in America's biggest COVID tax credit scheme, fraud scheme. Things pop up and they disrupt me. Defendants allegedly used VPNs and shell companies to abuse public schemes and defraud the government. How much did they take? Well, the article doesn't tell us. But, okay, yeah, it does. The fraudsters reportedly filed for $600 million in tax credits as part of the scheme, of which the IRS roughly disbursed $45 million. Authorities charged the defendants with 45 counts, including wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud the United States, and assisting in preparing false tax returns. Now, I could never, shoot, they'll never give me $45 million. Holy moly. Folks, this is the problem. That $45 million, oh, it was the government's money anyway. No, it was our money. Where does the government get their money? From us. If they take it in tariffs and they don't hit us with an income tax, then we can say, well, that's the government's money that they mismanaged. But no, they mismanaged our money that we paid into the government. Everybody that lost a house and a farm and a business in Hurricane Helene could have, all of those businesses, those farms, those homes could have been restored for that amount of money. And you would have had money left over. Everybody that lost homes in Southern California could have their homes could have already been in the process of being rebuilt for $2.8 trillion. So people wonder, why is Trump so mean and nasty? Why is, when he's talking to people, so direct and just, being so mean to people? People just get all worked up over words. But when this happens, nobody says a peep. So, Trump's doing things the way he's doing them and that's the reason. It's because of stuff like that. It's because the government has mistreated people after natural disasters. Why? Well, maybe they want the land. Maybe that's the problem. It's just a speculation. But I don't think one that's that far off. So, yeah, this is why things are happening the way they're happening. Now, let me talk about Pete Hegseth for a moment. He's been sworn in by the vice president. And people saying, please excuse my work of natural immunity, try to do natural immunity to get rid of this bug I have. Now, people talk about him cheating on his wife and and being drunk and the things he's done in the past. And they do that without any grace at all. We saw it in the Senate hearings where certain senators played the Pharisee as if they didn't have anything wrong in their own life, but judged Pete for his life. And they don't, do they not understand that people can change? That there's a thing called redemption? That there's a thing called regeneration? That there's a thing called changing your life and heading down a different path? No, they want to go back into the past and dig things up in the past and use past mistakes to crucify these folks. Folks like Pete Hegseth. and they want to parade it out into the public, and they have no sense of grace, no sense of mercy, no sense of regeneration, no sense of God forgiving our sins, no sense of a person changing their life. No, that's not allowed in their book if you're on the wrong side of the fence. In their book, once you make a mistake, it's there forever, and we will never forgive you, and we will never let you live it down. But if they make a mistake, how dare you bring that up? Who do you think you are? That is what we call a Pharisee. And if you don't know what Pharisees are, then pick up your Bible and start reading it, and you'll find them all over the Gospels. And Christ constantly rebuking them, telling them they're full of dead men's bones, called them snakes, vipers, and they, constantly condemning others and being completely blind to their own faults. That's a Pharisee. Don't be a Pharisee. Well, there's a lot going on, but I told you what I believe is going to be happening, what the real agenda of the Trump administration is. It's to restore the country back to the Constitution, to restore the company back to its original economy, not the one that we have now where it's a big, heavy burden on the people. But restoring America where the people of America, the citizens, are completely free, financially and otherwise, and the money can be collected by those who want to do business here, who are outside of the country. The WHO was connected with the World Economic Forum and the whole Klaus Schwab agenda. And they wanted to have total authority over our country. They wanted to shut down our sovereignty, and they wanted to be sovereign over our country and be able to declare a pandemic anytime they wanted to. And it doesn't matter if it's real or fake. All they have to do is just declare it at the time they decide they want to do so, and then they can declare a national emergency, and it would be a UN organization, an international organization called the WHO, the World Health Organization, that would then have full authority over the United States as in a dictator style. They would override the authority of the president, the Congress, the Supreme Court, our three branches of government, even our bureaucracy. And they would determine what happens to people, whether they have to wear a mask, whether they have to take a shot, an experimental shot, and put it in their bodies, whether they have to be quarantined, whether they have to shut down their business, whether they have to stay in their homes for years if necessary to get their agenda pushed through. The 2030 agenda was originally, well, that's debunked. That's not debunked, but that's gone kaput. They lost that agenda. But that's what the WHO wanted to have the ability to do. And given the last pandemic, it's easy to understand now that they demand 6 feet shutdowns, masks, and shots, and quarantines. Trump pulled out of the WHO and said, you're not doing that to us again. And he's going to keep the CDC and the FDA on a tight rein as well. And there are agencies that are going to be eliminated. I think one of them is going to be the Department of Education, or should I say the the Department of Miseducation. Um, so here's how Trump plays ball. I'm just giving you my thoughts on what he's going to be doing. Colombia, president confirms he blocked U.S. military planes with illegal immigrants, and Trump said U.S. would impose 25% tariffs on Colombia after it refused deportation of flights. And I saw it here where Colombia, shortly thereafter, decided to reverse course and take the immigrants in, or take these what do they call them? They call them migrants. Deportation. Yeah, the deportees. We could call them deportees. They changed their mind. You start talking about tariffs and sanctions and all of that, and they know that Trump will do it. He's not messing around. All of a sudden, they want to talk. Get Mr. President on the phone. We need to talk with him and work something out. That's how he gets things done, folks. He strong arms these folks. He tries to get them with honey, and if the honey don't work, he brings the hammer. And that's how he does it. I think we're going to see a lot of changes that are going to be very positive for us. Anyway, I'm looking at Epoch Times here. To see what's going on. Now, this is interesting. The J.P. Morgan downgraded the Panama rating, I guess the country of Panama's rating, amid Trump's views to reclaim the canal. Well, he's right about the Chinese. They have a Chinese corporation, on one end of the canal and on the other end of the canal running things. And every Chinese corporation is owned by the Chinese Communist Party. So he's right. Now, I don't know how he's going to do it, but he's got something up his sleeve, I guarantee you. He knows how he's going to do it. I'm not that smart. Anything happening with the courts? Let me look at courts. Now, this is interesting. Missouri it takes the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, to court for $25 billion over hoarding of COVID-19 protective equipment. Wow. So Missouri is suing the Chinese Communist Party. Now, that's interesting. So a federal agency is saying small businesses don't have to file beneficial ownership reports. The Department of Justice asked Supreme Court to freeze student debt in environmental cases. Now, I'm not for students using our money, our hard-earned tax dollars, to get their education and then turn around and tell us, the taxpayers, forget you, I'm not paying you back for the loan that you gave me. That ain't right. And it's not the government that they're getting that free money from. It's you and me. It's taxpayers. Anyway, this says the Justice Department reversed the agency's position on a redistricting dispute currently before the U.S. Supreme Court. At the same time, the department asked the justices to halt the processing of pending student loan and environmental regulation cases. The new court filings were issued on January 24, days after President Donald Trump was inaugurated. Position changes in high-profile court cases often take place when a new party assumes the presidency. So there you go. So a lot of different things are happening. In the car world, I think V8s are going to be here for a long time. That new Hurricane engine that Stellantis put out, the straight six dual turbo, is having problems, having some issues. When you put a small engine in a car that weighs more than that engine should be able to handle, you're going to have problems. You know, you're going to have to forge the internals quite a lot. But, you know, you put a four-cylinder in a pickup truck, you know, a full-size pickup truck, it's not going to work. A straight six will do okay if you don't put a whole bunch of junk on it to make it break. The old slant six in the Dodges and Plymouths and Chryslers, and the straight six cylinders in the Fords and the Chevys back in the 60s, those were strong engines. They were not designed to be fast. They weren't designed to be hot rodded, but they created a lot of torque and they were able to pull pretty well. And they lasted a long time, but it's because of the way they were designed. But the way we're designing engines today, we're going to have problems with them. It's better just to go back to the big lumbering V8. The reason a Crown Vic, the Ford Crown Vic, lasts so long is because the V8 in it, the 4.6 or the 5.0 in it, is not working very hard. It is not working hard at all because it's larger displacement and it's just lumbering down the road, and those pistons and those valves are not pushing hard at all. And so it lasts a lot longer. But you put a four-cylinder in there, and even if you throw turbos and superchargers and everything else on it, that little four-cylinder engine is going to be working very, very hard. Those pistons and those rocker arms and everything in there is just going to be, they're going to be going a lot faster and working a lot harder than a big lumbering V8. It's just basic mechanics. Anyway, but that's my rant on cars. So anyway, there's not a whole lot more in here right now. There was I saw an article where a Border Patrol agent was killed on a traffic stop. And our hearts go out to him and his family. I did hundreds of traffic stops, and they're all dangerous, folks. They're all potentially dangerous. We can put it that way. I did hundreds of building searches, and they're all potentially dangerous. Don't let your guard down, officers. Do your job, and don't let your guard down. Be careful. All right. Let me go back. Premium. I'm just looking to see what else I can find. So there's the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. This is a article out of the Epoch Times, an explainer of the law Trump may invoke. The act allows the government to detain or remove foreign nationals without a hearing in times of war or invasion. He's already declared an invasion a national emergency. By the way, there's been over 500 arrests already. President Trump, in 6 days, President Donald Trump may dust off a centuries-old law to expedite the deportation of foreign national gangs and cartel members to help secure the U.S. border. On the campaign trail, Trump was on the campaign trail back then. When was this article written? It doesn't give a date, but I'm taking it was before the election. I think this act is already in place. He already signed the executive order for it. But let's find out more about this act. On the campaign trail, Trump pledged to invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. The Alien Enemies Act is part of the larger Alien and Sedition Acts, which Congress enacted joining John Adams, and enacted during John Adams' presidency. That's a long time ago, folks. When the United States was on the brink of war with France. It is a sweeping law that would grants the president extraordinary powers. On his first day in office, Trump signed, now they're up to date. On his first day in office, Trump signed 10 border-related executive actions, including an executive order that states that the president may invoke the Alien Enemies Act to stop any invasion or predatory incursion against the territory of the United States by a qualifying actor. 2 conditions must be met to invoke the act, said Joshua Trevino, Chief Transformation Officer. Where do they come up with this stuff? For the Texas Public Policy Foundation, a conservative think tank that analyzes policy. Okay. I mean, there's so many different titles and so many different offices in government. It's just, first, there must be a war, invasion, or predatory incursion of U.S. territory. Well, that's the drug cartel, so he's got that one. Second, the invasion or hostile act must be committed by a foreign government. Well, a drug cartel is not a foreign government. So he doesn't have that one from what I can see. The Alien Enemies Act has only been invoked 3 times in more than 200 years. It was last used by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt during World War II to create Japanese internment camps after the 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor. The internment camps have since been condemned by civil rights groups. So the act was initially used to stop French people in the United States from agitating for war. Based on that scenario, Trevino believes terrorist groups acting as foreign powers or operating in association with foreign governments could meet the requirements needed to invoke the law. Now that's interesting. When you look at cartel activity, then we are being invaded, he said. If an organization can kill Americans on U.S. soil and operate with foreign state support, it's easy to make the argument that they are invading the country, he said. There you go. And that's why Marines have flown to the border in the Ospreys. Osprey is the plane that the rotors go up and they can fly like a helicopter, and then the rotors come down, they can fly like a plane. That's an Osprey. If you've watched the footage of the Marines going down and to the border, and that flying machine that brought them in, that's an Osprey, and it rotates. So anyway, so that's what's happening. So it's biblical to defend the country. It's biblical to set laws, and it's biblical to enforce those laws. The Bible supports that and doesn't have anything against it. So stand by. I truly believe that we're in for a fight because we're taking on evil forces that don't want us taking them on, and they're going to fight back. They're going to bring the heat. But if I know the American people will return that favor and bring the heat back on them more effectively than they can against us. When you have the right leader, that's the case. So I think the cartels will lose this one. I think the globalists are going to lose this one. I think the fourth branch of government is going to lose this one. I don't care what their contract says, and I don't care how many protections they think they have. When their agency is eliminated, like the Department of Education, gone, and they work for the Department of Education, as far as I'm concerned, there's no obligation by the president, because they do work for the executive branch. Excuse me. There's no obligation for the president to retain them as employed. If their department is eliminated, they can be laid off. There's no contract that can stop that, not legally. And if he does retain them, guess where they're going? They're going to the border. He's already talked about sending 90,000? 81,000? Whatever it is. IRS agents, armed IRS agents, to the border. Oh, you want to keep your job? Okay, you're going to the border. You're going to defend the border. So that's how Trump conducts business. He's getting rid of the woke DEI nonsense. So things are looking up, things are better, and things are heading in the right direction. And that's why you need to stay focused, because this is the dangerous part. The people who are taking the hit, they're not happy, and they're not going to like it, and they're going to try to shut us down. But I believe they will fail. And I think the future is bright. So, strap in, folks. We're going for a ride. God bless. I'm getting sleepy now. I better go to bed. God bless you guys. I'll see you the next time on the C-Files.